You know, public perception of Beaujolais has changed a lot and evolved a lot over the last several years. I'd like to talk to Master Sommelier Laura DePasquale to understand how.
Couple of things. I think price point has a lot to do with it. It's as Burgundy has pushed the boundaries of pricing into the stratosphere, it's pretty impossible to pour Burgundy by the glass unless you're, pouring a high-end wine through Coravin, et cetera, et cetera. But people still gravitate towards wanting wines of discovery, of interest. And for me, I love Gamay, I love Beaujolais, I love the terroir of it. I think it's affordable. I don't know what's going to happen with the tariffs, pushing things out. And Cru Beaujolais is a really high quality wine, an area 4 wine that that's affordable, and it's pairable, and I think that I definitely see people gravitating, especially a younger or maybe newer, not so much younger chronologically, but just newer wine drinker, gravitating to wines that are not overproduced, as opposed to a big blockbuster movie, maybe it's a small indie movie, in the sense that it's more about the fruit and the terroir. It's not about oak and extraction. And Gamay has been and the region Beaujolais has been an area that was really overlooked because there was a lot of cheap and cheerful wine out there for a long time. I think the market is completely interested in low alcohol wines, and I think it's driven by a few things. One, a new wine drinker, right? A different wine drinker that is coming from either beer, hard seltzer, things. They're not coming from scotch and soda, they're coming from a place of lower alcohol. And then I think the last thing is, our chefs and our restaurants, whether we're a 3-star Michelin chef-driven establishment, a gastropub, or even a chain, use more vegetables on their plates. They just do, right? The protein portions are smaller, and they're using more vegetables on their plates. And they're using more interesting vegetables. I mean, remember when Brussels sprouts didn't exist? Now you can't go to a place and not see Brussels sprouts on a menu.
Yeah.
These lower alcohol wines pair better with the entire composition of the dish than I'll have a steak and a side of mashed potatoes or mac and cheese, which is a great thing to have sometimes. But in general, a composed dish. I mean, was dying for a piece of fish. I wasn't cooking fish or able to get fish during COVID. So my first restaurant meal out, I ordered cobia, and it was served with a white bean puree and a lemongrass broth and a aioli garlic toast. Delicious, by the way. This would be a great pair with that because that's a weird dish, right? You've got a light white fish, you've got light flavor, you've got lemongrass, very aromatic flavor, you've got a heartiness and earthiness of white beans, and then you've got this strong aioli on a toast. So the dish is kind of all over the place. It works beautifully, but how do you bring it all together? And I think people are understanding that more, and I think a Beaujolais would have been amazing with that. It really is a wine with some complexity. There's a very intense mineral thread that's keeping the wine really focused. The finish is moderate, not super long, but pleasant. I think that it's also got a little bit of oak on it, but not overpowering, just kind of balances it out. It is an incredibly balanced wine. I love the acid lift here. There's a refreshing quality on this wine. It's pretty yummy. This is super food friendly, very pairable, great in the hot weather for sure. But it's got enough depth of flavor, and it might be because it's this spectacular 18 vintage, that this wine, if it was a cool day and I was having a minestrone soup, right, or a pasta, this wine would be a great pair with that as well. It's big enough to hold up, and I think that's why people are gravitating towards the crus as opposed to just, you know, Beaujolais or just a Beaujolais-Village. And really minerally nose. Wow. Super minerally nose. But still, that beautiful cherry bomb, wild raspberry note of fruit is, you know, it's actually a more intense nose in terms of the mineral and the fruit. It's like pretty explosive, as a matter of fact, which is something that's really awesome about Beaujolais too, right? Like sometimes a lot of red wines, they just kind of hit you with either like the spices of the oak or maybe a lot of alcohol. And this is really like fruit and mineral and pretty explosive. Mm. Mm. I'm swallowing that one. That was good. It wasn't. Wow, this to me has more complexity. You know, a lot more complexity. You know, it's a lot of fruit up front. That mineral thread is intense. The finish is longer, a lot longer. It's more mouth filling than the Julianas. That's really a great glass of wine, honestly.
Yeah, there's some bones to that thing. I mean, I found it happily surprising, if not shocking. I mean, it was like, wow, you came to play, didn't you?
Yeah, it's not so much that it's bigger, it's more complex. There's just more layers to it in terms of flavor and texture
Yeah.
than the Julianas. And I feel like I'm speaking ill on the Julianas, and I'm not, because I thought it was delicious. But this wine just has more going on. I have to tell you, I would be in a blind, I'd be screwing around with this wine. Am I in Burgundy, right? Am I in Beaujolais? I'd be bouncing. Yeah, I'd be bouncing, and I'd be wrestling and having crazy monkeys in my head go, Beaujolais, Burgundy, Beaujolais, Burgundy.
Thank you very much for watching. Up next, Andrei Ivanov, who's going to teach us a bit more about the soils and the subsoils in Beaujolais, but as a master sommelier, he has a bit more to offer as well.